Alright, so welcome back to the Deathmatch World Cup 5 group stages. We got Maldhar, Green Trunks, Berbers up against the Blue Trunks, Franks in Ubetnir. This is game number 2 in their best of 5. Asar in here for Maldhar. He's going to try and pick off Ubetnir's builders right now. Forcing a couple of garrisons, but he's not going to get any kills for his trouble. Well, Ubetnir trying to have a go at Maldhar's, force some garrison as well. Not quite able to get the kill there. So I think Ubetnir is briefly housed there because he's slightly down on the Vil pop at the moment. And Camel v Paladin. This will be a great defense here for Maldhar. Well, Ubetnir having to get Halbs to defend as well. So while his army will be cheaper to produce behind this, Ubetnir is going to bleed a couple of Vils here for his trouble. But Ubetnir, even though he's down to 3 Vils, is actually slightly ahead in terms of the pop. I mean, in terms of the score. And you can mass up these Halbs really easily. The Camels, even though they are really great against the Paladins, Ubetnir is getting fairly minimal Paladins at the moment, just enough to sort of keep his opponent occupied, keep him on his toes. The big wall of Camels are just going to fall to the Halbs pretty quickly here. So Maldhar, impressive Vil lead at the moment, but Ubetnir slightly catching up on that front. He's got a second town centre down already, while Maldhar working towards a couple of TCs, a little slow, getting a lot of castles to defend. So even though he'd sort of bought himself a big advantage there, taking the more safe option to try and close out the game, and in essence it's let Ubetnir back into the game because now the Vil lead, I think he's going to pretty much tighten up before these town centres even finish. If not, Ubetnir might even get a small lead on them. The villagers now being picked off by Maldhar once again. That's an impressive number of Halbs here to hold out. There are some Camels sneaking around the side. Halbs again on defense, going to be able to clean this up with ease, but the Paladin being picked off as well. And a villager. So Maldhar again keeping that villager lead alive now. Like I said, he sort of had to make himself work for it again, because even though he really got the break there early on in the game with a lot of kills of villagers, Ubetnir actually went for the quicker second town centre, so he's really been able to catch up in the Vil count at the moment. Ooh, and this is great for Ubetnir. He's arched a good number of Paladins. There's plenty of cavalry up here, Camel Archers as well for Maldhar. So these guys will at least be able to take ranged engagements against these Halbs. Ubetnir just readying up. Although if he leaves this too long, he's going to let Maldhar finish the castle and tidy up this side army. So Ubetnir probably needs to look at taking these engagements before it's too late. In fact, yeah, he's sort of wasted his opportunity here, I think, at the top side. But at the lower side, we sort of forced Maldhar to bring a lot of Camels back to deal with this. Meanwhile, Maldhar's doing a good run by on Ubetnir. There is a nice defensive castle, but Ubetnir overshooting things with his Halbs. He probably only needed to have a couple up here and send some more over this side a little bit quicker, because now they're just going to be able to run through, and they might be able to clean up the villages on this town centre, or at least take a favourable engagement as the Halbs take a while to actually surround them. with minimal halbs engaging at once, that actually was a nice trade there for Maldhar in the end. Now we got a bit of a engagement in the middle of the map. Maldhar just now cleaning up another run by of paladins there. But Ubetnir is down on the villagers at the moment. He's still, I think he's struggling a bit in terms of eco behind this because he's run out of food. Maldhar's run out of gold in the meanwhile. It's going to be hard for him to produce this comp for the time being. And there's not a critical mass of camels in the fight to actually deal with the paladins just yet. Ubetnir now is probably overstaying. Or perhaps there's just enough because there is some halves into support. Oh, and so yeah, Ubetnir does get out just before the fight gets really ugly for him. Maldhar's raiding on that top side, but he's probably shouldn't worry so much about that barracks and just look at maybe trying to cut the hell out of these halbs or get straight past them. So they do trade a little bit better than the melee camels, but even still unmicroed. This isn't great for Maldhar. He's going to lose all these guys, and against Trash, that's a really bad trade for him. Ubetnir still sending a Hal Paladin army out. It's impressive he's being able to afford all this. He's having to spend wood for gold for food, I think. It's really getting that farm eco going. He needs to get that castle finished though if he wants to really reap the benefits. Have that defense. Bombard getting picked off now. So the siege will be relentless on Maldhar's doorstep. If Ubetnir can get this front castle down, he can really snatch a lot of this production. The halbs just sort of tanking fire for the time being. Just trying to bait a unit or two of Maldhar's in. He's not paying attention, but he is, and now he's really got a nice mass of the Hussars, but bearing in mind he's largely doing this because he hasn't got a lot of gold in the bank. So relying on this to work. It will overwhelm all these trebs, but Ubetnir is just now only really starting to struggle for the gold. Adding some more stables to the side there. So now Ubetnir's really, I guess, starting to feel the economic pinch, but Maldhar doesn't have much gold either. And bearing in mind all this outlying gold, I think is actually probably a little bit favourable to Ubetnir here. He's sort of built in the way of it. So he can really get both of those golds, or Maldhar's really only got this one over here to expand onto left. As well as what he's already on, I suppose. So now Maldhar going for the kill, but there's plenty of fight still left here in Ubetnir. As Ubetnir's managed to grab 3 relics in the meantime as well, so, you know, AoE 2 gold income, I mean, it's not great compared to AoE 4s as such, but still, in a war of attrition, it will help you in the long run if you can just outlast the fights. Even if you take the odd bad fight, you can still just get by with that little bit extra that it gives you. Ooh, not quite the shots Ubetnir was looking for. And Maldhar trying to do a bit of a run by, but now Ubetnir's got the castle finished. Just wants to try and get this wood if he can. Maldhar camping the gold, but Ubetnir's not worrying about expanding onto it just yet. He's done well, and I mean, he's already got this rare gold. Still, he's freshly onto that one. fight over these last couple of gold mines. Last central gold mine, really. Maldhar going to take the engagement, and he's right on Ubetnir's farms, but he's going to keep going for some reason. He's going to come back now. He takes a little bit of extra damage. He's going to get a good couple of Vil kills right now, and village accounts. We've got 108 for Ubetnir, 111 for Maldhar, and Maldhar still trying to work away at that eco. He's forced to garrison there as well. Now Ubetnir's pushing forward with a mix of paladins and halbs. Ooh, building wall attempt there, and it's not quite. Oh, it does finish. There's only one paladin that makes it through there. Ubetnir runs around anyway. Maldhar does clean up his army here in the center. Villages there for Maldhar. Too many to fit in the one town center, so Ubetnir will pick off a couple. And Ubetnir is actually the one pulling ahead on village account at the moment, because he is up to 123, while Maldhar down to 103. And Ubetnir had just enough to really deal with that army there, so Maldhar's got to go in for round 2. And because he hasn't got a lot of gold in the bank, he's going to lead with hussars and follow up with a camel. He's mostly spending the gold on some siege, some bombards, and some trebs, and some onagers. So nice of Maldhar to lead with the hussars there. They can tank while the camel kills the paladin, so they all go down in the long run. But Maldhar still at 103 Vils, while Ubetnir's added another 11. He's up to 131 at the moment. I think both our players are now maxed out. So Ubetnir going to drop that castle unless he can clean this army up. Not the greatest of shots there. Hitting his own paladins with the onager. So Maldhar going to do another run by. The camel archers might be able to intercept the trebs here. But no more front line here from Maldhar. Maldhar does get an impressive number of Vil kills there. He's brought Ubetnir down to 116, but he's only got 93 of his own in the meanwhile. And he's forced. There's still onagers here into support, so they're going to force the camel archers to have to keep retreating here. Trebs again getting cleaned up there. They've got hussars into support, as well as more hussars working through the villages of Ubetnir's right now. On the lower side of the map, more camel archer harass. Ubetnir's now really started to get the break here. He's pulling ahead by a K score at the moment. He's really wiping out the hussars and the camel archers, and I don't know if Maldhar has the eco and is fielding the camel riders that he needs to get through this. Now with more halbs being added as well here for Ubetnir, it's getting really difficult for Maldhar to keep defending here. If this castle falls, all these buildings and all these units are under huge threat. So Maldhar getting on that top gold. There is still this central top one here. Again, it's a little bit more close to Ubetnir's base. So Maldhar now really struggling to stay on par with his opponent, because Ubetnir has that 20 Vil lead. Both players struggling to stay maxed out from this point. Now Ooh, Ubetnir's going to try and steal any gold that he can, if he can. Run by attempt here with the Hussars. They're going to have to sneak through quickly. Helps, just ignore them. A bit cheeky, Ubetnir pinching some of Maldhar's gold, just getting back at him for the last game, so he's going to clean up some vills. Maldhar's going to clean up some of Ubetnir's vills here now. Try and close the eco gap, but bearing in mind, Ubetnir's now through to the back of his base and is cleaning up all of his villages, all of his farmers right now. And we've got pikes chasing halbs. More pikes than halbs, but bearing in mind they are the weaker units, so they will lose 1-to-1. Now Ubetnir cleaning up the raid in his base, and he's now actually forcing Maldhar off that top gold, so Ubetnir now has control over 2 gold mines. His opponent doesn't, so it's going to look really ugly for Maldhar. Maldhar trying to sneak some camels past and see if he can clean up some more of the vills of Ubetnir right now, but Ubetnir back up to 121 villages, some great eco production through the raids. Maldhar struggling a little to maintain that eco behind all this. He's back up to 85 vills, but even still, he's now having a fight with pikemen versus halb. He's got some pikes into Ubetnir's base right now, and he's actually trying to work away at the town centre, but it's going to take forever to bring that down. He really needs to try and pick off some more vills if he can. Well, some villagers here of Ubetnir creeping forward. They want to pinch the stone and maybe look at throwing down a castle and some workshops. So Ubetnir focusing down the pikes with the town centre. He's going to be able to get a few of them. So Maldhar's really forced onto a late trash army. He's fielding a few champions as well behind this. He's going to need them. If he can get Ubetnir making too many halbs, he can engage with the champions and come out well ahead. But bearing in mind, Ubetnir's the one who has easy access to gold at the moment. He's got a town centre up there at the top. Now he's getting all the gold and stone. Still getting more gold here off Maldhar, who's now been sitting at 3k less score for a couple of minutes. He's fighting with pikes everywhere that he can. And Ubetnir, it's 136 vills behind all this. Maldhar back up to 107 though, so he's doing what he can to stay competitive in this game. But Ubetnir is just mining out the whole map. It's going to be easy for him to field whatever he wants in the late game. He'll be able to field throwing axemen against the champions. So he'll really have a great comp. He'll have the paladins against hussars, and he'll still have gold that Maldhar won't behind all that. So Ubetnir's really put himself in a position in this game that he wasn't able to get into last game. Maldhar is now won back the gold, so he's evening things up in this game slowly. He can try and get back on the top gold and make his magic work. So comp of throwing axemen now. Both our players making a bit of late adjustments to the team. Champions, we've got throwing axemen. They haven't really even faced each other in good number yet. Some harass here from Maldhar. This is nice. He can try and get in the center of the castles here and just clean up as many of the villages. While he's really working away at the vills at the top side there. So Maldhar is now only down by 6 vills. For the past 3 or 4 minutes he's been down by, 20, 30 villages. Now he's only down by a handful, so things are looking great for him, but it is a bit do or die. He doesn't have a lot of wood or a lot of gold left in the bank. Now he's trying to pinch this gold mine off Ubetnir. And because Ubetnir didn't garrison, he actually just kept trying to mine through it. He can't actually focus down the vills just with the town center. He's actually got to have the light cav come in. So Ubetnir having to field some light cav now that he's been pushed off both these gold mines. I was just saying Maldhar is really going to struggle for gold, but now it's Ubetnir who's going to be struggling for gold. And because he's fighting light cav v Hussar, he's got to keep halbs out, which are going to struggle against the champions and against the onagers. But now Ubetnir's cleaned up the top. Maldhar's run out of gold back at home, so it's smart of Ubetnir to actually mine all that gold of Maldhar's there. Very smart. It's been a great series so far. Maldhar to win the last game, and this has been a very even tussle. Now, a couple of halbs on defense. This is a great idea for Ubetnir because these will be able to clean up the majority of these Hussars long enough to at least get the villagers garrison and get some more on the way up here. Raid over here on Maldhar by Ubetnir, who's again forced his opponent down 20 villages to him. Ubetnir something winning the raid and defend in this one. Those throwing axes doing a great job against all the infantry. More knights being snuck in here by Ubetnir. This forward castle really paying a dividend now, because I think he's got vision of all this. Well, I don't know if Maldhar does. So Frank's player starting to pull ahead of our Berbers player here in the, I guess, the ultra late game of the Deathmatch. Just able to stream units in from everywhere, while Maldhar is really starting to struggle economically. He's down, you know, 35 villages to his opponent. Really try and make things work with pikemen and hussars at the moment. Some more champions here on defense. You probably could bring them up into the fight, but Maldhar, I think it might be a bit of a one last stand because he's really low on gold and food at the moment. Ubetnir trying to make his way into the farm there. Oh, and Ubetnir realizing that if he can defend this, might pretty much be over, and he might take his first game in this series. Because Maldhar has minimal units to try and defend this from here, while Ubetnir is maxed out. So Maldhar, yeah, is really down in terms of the overall population stats at the moment. Ubetnir seems to be taking a bit of a commanding lead in terms of the kill to death in this game as well. He's done really well with the clean up from last game where he struggled to take a lot of fights against Maldhar, who was really solid from the get-go. Seems to be a turnaround of game one in this series. Treb finally going to get taken down. The town center staying alive through all this. So it's just saving grace. Maldhar needs to try and get himself back into this game, but there is still gold reserves there for Ubetnir, so he needs to keep trying to get value around the map. He probably shouldn't sit under the castle, but taking the fight against the light cav is not a bad idea. But sitting under the castle might be a little bit too greedy there. And again, Ubetnir streaming in light cavs. GG, Maldhar dropping out of game number 2. So the series locked up at 1-1, heading into game number 3.